beloved and far too long lost family members, friends, and people in general, greetings. Today, you are not here to hear the lovely musical strains of my abilities. Rather, if you do wish to do so, I will send you a link somewhere on the screen and you will be able to float your way back to my normal video habits. Rather, we are here to discuss something that is a little bit more distinctive to myself. I am, in fact, bilingual. If you did not already know that, I am American, both parents are as well, and I have grown up in France. I achieved the French nationality 3 years ago, so this is not new to me. I mean, I grew up surrounded by the French cultures, but now I can truly claim that both countries are my countries. Therefore, we shall be answering some questions that people who are or are not bilingual may be curious about, as to, what pertains to particular details concerning us. Some of these questions I have been asked myself. Some of these I looked for online, and I did a little bit of research for some of them because they did require that, and I did not want to waste my time in front of the camera searching up who has the highest IQ in the world. So, without any further ado, let us get into it. Question 1, which I get very commonly: do you prefer speaking in English or French? I learned French when I went to school, so I was about 3 years old when I integrated preschool here, and I've always kind of favored English as it is my native language. And for example, my YouTube channel, I do not do a lot of French content, and for a good reason, because I feel a little bit more uncomfortable when speaking French. I find that I speak more fluently in English. The words flow better for me in English. That's not saying that I can't speak in French. I mean, I absolutely can, and I will probably prove it to you in some near future, but I do prefer speaking in English. When are you considered bilingual? This, I believe, should be answered on more personal levels, like when do you feel bilingual? Some people might consider themselves bilingual if they only took English as a second language in school. I personally would not, unless you are just very talented and do a lot of research and additional learning on your own. I would say that starting at the moment when you can easily switch between languages and that you kind of grew up with both languages, you can be considered bilingual. Now this is probably just because that's the characteristics that made me bilingual, but like there are definitely people who learn languages later on in life and can still be considered bilingual. I would just say this: growing up as a child, immersed in both cultures and languages, that's how I would define being bilingual. What are the challenges of being bilingual? Not finding a word in one language. For example, when you're like taking a test and you're writing an essay in French and you have the word in English and you can't find it in French, like you just cannot find it in French. It's kind of annoying because then all you can think about is that, and it's so frustrating because you know that there's an equivalent word in French, but you just can't find it. So yeah, definitely just not finding the right word in a language, or sometimes I'll say a word and people will look at me like, huh? Because I basically just adapted it from English and it's the wrong word, like different endings or something like that. Other than that, I would say maybe formulation of sentences can be a little bit awkward at times when you forget that, they're completely different syntax rules depending on the language. But other than that, I would say that, if you're truly bilingual, it shouldn't be too hard, in my opinion. Do bilinguals have two personalities? I guess it depends on the person. I will say that when you speak a certain language, you will tend to have the mannerisms of that culture associated with it. Like, for example, when you speak French, you're going to use certain, you're going to have certain tics that go along with speaking the language. And I mean, it might involve, changing personalities a bit. It also depends a lot on who do you speak this language with. For example, French I speak at school and with my French friends. Sometimes I struggle to find, the more professional vocabulary and approach in syntax and grammar and such. Whereas in English, I grew up reading English books, speaking English with my parents and my family in America, so I've had more of a broad learning of the English language. Next is apparently a myth. Do bilingual babies talk later? So I guess I'll like put writing somewhere after I've researched this. But no, I do not think that bilingual babies talk. Do bilinguals have higher IQ? This is what I was hinting at in the introduction. If you stick around, I am very proud of you. Congratulations. No, we don't. I did research on like the people with the highest IQs in the world, but mostly people who have high IQs can speak multiple languages because they have this ability, this ease of learning languages, and so they're already super smart to start out with, so that's how come they can speak these multiple languages. I wouldn't say that speaking multiple languages makes you smarter. So anyway, the people that I found are Einan Colley. Some sources said Irish, some sources said Singaporean. Anyway, his IQ I found was of 263, which is not physically possible. And he speaks Malay and English because I think he grew up in Singapore, so Next, the woman who, allegedly has the highest IQ in the world, Marilyn Vos Savant. I found no proof that she's bilingual. She is American, and I literally found nowhere that she's bilingual. Next, Kim Eung-young, who is South Korean, with an IQ of 210. This is quoting from Wikipedia. By the age of 5, Kim Eung-young could speak Korean, English, French, German, and Japanese. We must remember that these people are the exception and not the rule. And then I found Terrence Teo, who's an American-Australian man, if I remember correctly. His IQ is of 230. And aside from English, next, so my IQ, I took a few tests on different sites. One wouldn't give me the results unless I signed up or something, so I just nixed that one. Another asked me 38 questions. It was IQtest.com. If you are curious about the testing of the IQ, I found online that no test is really reliable because it totally depends on the test and there's not really a generalized IQ determination. So basically it's just everybody has their own opinion of what makes you smart, and so they make the test according to that. So this said that my IQ was 147. Another test that only asked me 10 questions told me that my IQ was 125 plus. So I guess they both align. Definitely, I would say that people who have high IQs probably have more ease learning languages, but not the other way around. Do bilingual nurses make more? Probably not. I mean, I don't see why they would, personally. I mean, it's just, it doesn't really have anything to do with the job, does it? I don't see a connection between those two factors. Do we have better memory? I don't know. There have been some studies that have been made that say that bilingual people, have more of a tendency to do better at school because they've had to apply themselves to learn, multiple languages and keep them kind of separated in their minds. I guess it would train you more because you have to remember basically twice the vocabulary as the average person. Do bilinguals dream in different languages? By this, I don't know if the question means do we mix two languages in our dreams or do we dream, in multiple languages separately. So to answer the first, I don't ever really remember dreaming in French and English combined. I have had dreams in French and I have had dreams in English, though I tend to dream more in English than in French. I also get that question asked me a lot, oh, Gabrielle, do you dream in English or do you dream in French? And so, I just say both. Do bilinguals think differently from monolinguals? I would say that also has to do with the difference of culture between the two languages, because you not only grow up with two languages, you grew up with two cultures. I grew up with the American culture from my parents and the French culture from school. And so when you combine those two, you of course get a unique way of thinking. Everybody thinks differently, so I guess that, no two people think the same way, right? Do bilinguals have two ways of thinking? I mean, once again, it's more of a comparison of culture than real personality. I mean, I think it's just that you have the two viewpoints of the different cultures. Like, for example, when addressing a problem or, a worldwide crisis or whatever, of course there are different ways of responding, and so you have both views from both cultures because, you check the news in English, you check the news in French, you keep up with American politics, you keep up with French politics. It's just two different ways of living that are combined in one person. Well, that concern a person. More exposure to different viewpoints. Do bilinguals get paid more? It depends on the job. For certain jobs, you have to be bilingual, like translator. You're not gonna hire someone who only speaks one language. The highest paying jobs do not pertain only to bilingual people, obviously. I mean, what is it? Surgeon, brain surgeon, that's the most paid job? I'm pretty sure you don't have to be bilingual to be a brain surgeon. So I would say no. Are bilinguals smarter? We already kind of addressed this question in the do bilinguals have higher IQ, even though it's not quite the same, because there are different types of intelligence. You know, there's literary intelligence, musical intelligence. I kind of read about this a while back. Everybody has their particular domain in which they're more comfortable. Bilinguals probably tend to be more comfortable in linguistic settings. Yeah, no, bilinguals are not smarter. Are bilinguals more creative? Probably not. I mean, oh shoot, I was gonna look up artists. I'm pretty sure they're not all bilingual. Like Pablo Picasso, he was Spanish, French. Mozart, he was... I just don't get the connection between bilingualism and creativeness. Are bilinguals more empathetic? I would say personality-wise, probably not. But I guess that they would be able to adapt more to the different viewpoints of the different cultures that they grew up in. But anybody can understand the two sides of a problem. So I don't get... No, I don't think that we're more empathetic. Bilinguals have accents. I guess when they speak the different languages. In my opinion, if you're truly bilingual, you should not have a perceptible accent. Bilingualism is really just being able to have equal capabilities in two languages. So of course there are going to be slight differences, but in general I think that no, bilinguals don't have accents. In that case, it's more of people who learned a second language. Does bilingualism cause stuttering? I personally don't stutter, so I guess no. Bilingualism really an advantage? I would say yes, because it opens you up to different cultures, to different countries, depending on, where you're from. Helps you, in school, but also in, the professional world. It helps, to say that on your resume that, you're bilingual in such and such languages. People now are more and more culturally open, more and more interested and curious, and more accepting of different nationalities and cultures and languages and everything. And so I think that being bilingual really is an advantage. And yeah, if you have enjoyed this video, these almost 20 minutes that you have spent with me, I beg that you would click that like button and subscribe to my channel, of course, and comment below if you have any ideas at all for videos, whether they concern France, whether it's questions that you'd like me to answer in a later video, if it's, song ideas that I might cover. Although I will say that I'm picky, so I might not choose your song, so please don't get angry if I don't. And yeah, come back next week for a new song, because it's gonna probably be the last Christmas song I post. So yeah, definitely listen to that one. It will probably be very good, hopefully. I'm sure it will be. And yeah, have a great rest of your day. Bye.